January. Melbourne. They say this is the happy slam. But in 2026, the smiles melted away. Temperatures hit 45 degrees, pushing the heat scale to its limit. While the draw was loaded with vendettas, this wasn't just tennis. It was a survival test. This is the 2026 Australian Open. Wimbledon. Roland Garros. The U.S. Open. You've seen them all, but no Grand Slam tests players like Australia. And in 2026, Mother Nature took this to the extreme. By the middle of week 1, the heat stress scale hit level 5, leading to suspended play on outside courts and closed roofs on the main stages. It changed everything. Players like defending champion Jannik Sinner was battling cramps, fighting his own body. In these conditions, training just went out the window. And instead of being the best, the competition came down to who can suffer the most and keep standing. But it gave us some incredible battles, including upsets and shocks that made every day feel like the roll of a dice. Let's face it, in Melbourne, reputation usually buys you safe passage through the first week. But this year, the rankings burned away in the furnace. While the Giants looked ahead to the finals, a new generation decided to crash the party. We saw the American qualifier, Lerner Tien, tear through the draw, even taking down Medvedev to make it to the quarterfinals. Then came 18-year-old Iva Jovic, playing with a fearlessness that made the veterans seem hesitant. She would also make it to the quarters, only falling to Sabalenka. But amidst the chaos, there was one last echo of the old guard. Stan Wawrinka. The Stanimal made it all the way to the third round, basically a farewell letter to Melbourne Park. And when he received that ovation after walking off the court, it was magical, possibly even louder than the final itself. But for many, the dream ended in silence. The draw was blown wide open, and the one question on everyone's mind was, if the legends can bleed, who is actually safe? Some matches define a tournament by their intensity. Others define it by their absence. Novak got a walkover in the fourth round from injured Jakub Mensik, a retirement in the quarter from Musetti, and walked into the semis. Meanwhile, Elena Rybakina pulled off an upset, downing Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals. It was cold and clinical, and a moment that fans began noticing where the trophy was heading. And for the home crowd, the defining moment came earlier. The fourth round, the Demon versus Alexander Bublik. We expected a trick shot exhibition. What we got was a demolition. De Minaur tore him apart, 6-4, 6-1, 6-1. Rod Laver Arena believed. But hope is a dangerous thing, and with Alcaraz waiting in the quarters, everyone screamed for the underdog. Unfortunately, the Spanish star just absorbed the energy, the heat, and the pressure, ending the game and silencing the crowd. But if talent gets you here, it's the mindset that decides who survives. By the second week, tennis stops being a game. It becomes a war of attrition. In the Aussie heat, the skill gap disappeared. Everyone could hit a forehand or a serve, but the difference was in the mind. It was about who could stand in the 40-degree heat, legs burning, lungs screaming, and convince themselves to run for one more ball. Veterans cracked, many withdrew, and the draw suddenly went from almost 100 men and women to just 4 left. The finish line became closer, but the pressure went up with the heat, only for those who made friends with the pain to be left fighting it out in the final week. Then came Friday, the day the tournament went from great to legendary. 2 matches, 10 sets, and a level of drama not ever the greatest scriptwriter could invent. First, there was Alcaraz versus Zverev. 5 hours and 27 minutes of pain and frustration. Zverev played the match of his life, coming back from 2-0 down to tie it at 2-2. He was looking like a champion, chasing Alcaraz all over Melbourne. He had him on the ropes. But Alcaraz, he turned it around, saving the match in the fifth. He didn't just win the match, he won over the crowd. And then, the master versus the apprentice. Djokovic versus the defending champion, Jannik Sinner. Sinner was pegged as the favorite. He was supposed to run over Novak. But at 38 years old, the Serbian turned the clock back at least a decade. He refused to fade, dragging the Italian into deep waters. He was a set down, coming back to win the game in another 5-set thriller. Djokovic sent a message that echoed around the world. I am not done yet. But in the finals, we got introduced to a new era. The finals gave us the perfect ending to a crazy open. First, there was Elena Rybakina. Her insane comeback against Sabalenka, recovering from 0-3 down in the decider, was one of the craziest moments ever. She'd take 5 consecutive points to lead 5-3 before closing it out. The moment she lifted the Daphne Ackhurst wasn't just a relief. It was a breakthrough moment that was seen all over the world. She conquered the heat, the world number 1 and the world number 2. She was the quietest player on the tour, whose racket made the loudest statement. But the one moment that we were all waiting for was the men's final. It was perfect and couldn't be set up any better. Alcaraz versus Djokovic. The past versus the future. Djokovic took the first set, and for a moment, we thought that history would repeat itself. In fact, many people wished for the old legend to keep on going and stun the youngsters. But Alcaraz, once again, proved that tennis isn't just about how you start, it's about how you finish. He played with a smile. He played with freedom. And in the next 3 sets, we got pure magic. Alcaraz became an artist. When he struck that final shot to win 7-5 in the fourth, the torch wasn't passed, it was shared. Djokovic smiled, the crowd roared, and Carlos Alcaraz, just 22 years old, stood alone at the summit. The youngest man to complete a career Grand Slam in history. He endured the heat, the pain, and every obstacle put in his way. And he did so with a smile on his face. Australia was undoubtedly a test of will for these athletes. It was a moment of insane entertainment for fans and had one of the greatest conclusions we could have hoped for. The scars of the heat will heal. The exhaustion will fade. But the 2026 Australian Open will be remembered for the triumph. The year Rybakina proved her heart was as big as her serve. And the year Alcaraz completed the puzzle. It was the hardest slam of them all, and that's exactly why victory tastes so sweet. But with history written, make sure to like and subscribe, and check out why Djokovic is the king in this next video. I'll see you in the next one.